Welcome to another episode of Full Circle with me, Onyx. And today I'm just talking about myself. Kind of. It's also about astrology, but it's really mostly about my journey of having an Aquarius rising, possibly an Aquarius rising. In Vedic astrology, my moon might be on the cusp of Pisces and Aquarius. Um, and in Western astrology, I could have an Aquarius rising. I really go with the Aquarius rising in Western astrology. Um, and so solving the big dilemma of my life for like the past 20 years is what is my star sign? What's going on? Because I don't know my actual birthday or my actual time of birth. And it's been frustrating yet okay. That frustration has led to a deep dive into astrology and into other people's charts. And like astrology for me helped me understand people, their motives. Why are people the way they are? Why? And I feel like astrology helped me decode and understand people around me. Because on one level, I just don't get and understand people. Uh, so solving for your solving for your rising sign now becomes a lot easier, or solving, because you can watch videos. And so I watched videos on different ascents and noticed the house place, because like your ascent is your chart ruler. So with an Aquarius rising, my chart ruler is Saturn and Uranus. If I had a Cancer rising, my chart ruler would be the moon. If I had a Leo rising, my chart ruler would be the sun. And so you can kind of solve your chart through some deep questions. What do you shy away from? What type of other signs irritate you? What do you discredit and not value? And for me, it was the Leo energy. I couldn't understand why people want to have fun. You know, why they're amused, in my mind, by simple things that are geared towards fun and entertainment, and there's just a lot of Leo things that I didn't understand. And so smacks, that really points to my seventh house. Uh, it's like a shadow aspect. It's one of the shadows. The other shadow is your 12th house. Um, and another shadow aspect could be your south node. So once you really start to open up your astrology knowledge, you can start to put together a very vivid, complex picture of yourself. Um, so one of my favorite Vedic astrologers talked about Aquarius rising, and sometimes they have a hard time with long distance travel, and travel drains them, and how Capricorn, being the 12th house ruler, uh, is the reasoning behind that. And for me, that was very true. I thought, so not fully understanding, I thought, am I Cancerian because I want to stay at home and I feel most comfortable in my home, and I don't, in a weird way, I don't like travel. I do like travel and I don't. I can think better traveling, but physically, I don't like it. So the physical effects of travel, I don't like. And so that was a really strong indicator for me of that I have an Aquarius rising. Another one is I'm kind of adopted into an Aquarius family. household. My my dad's an Aquarius. Uh, I thought he had a Scorpio rising. I perceived him as Scorpio, because he's quiet, doesn't express his feelings. He does explode in a dramatic display of anger. So he'll have like episodes of anger every once in a while, but it's not constantly. So I always thought, because I couldn't read him and because he was silent and very like kind of like self-contained in his mind, I thought he was Scorpio. Uh, and yeah, he kind of has intense eyes. And so I perceived him as scorpionic. And I actually have my Uranus in Scorpio. So that would be my dad's ruling planet. So my dad at that time, the interaction was Scorpio. It's like not a lot said, but there's a mutual understanding. So I kind of have like a Scorpion relationship with my dad. My adoptive mom actually has Pluto conjunct her moon in Leo. So she has this weird hidden Scorpio energy. My brother ended up marrying a double Scorpio. So there's this flirting around with Scorpio energy, but not really. Uh, and so once again, I look to my personal chart and see the family dynamics being played out. I didn't really respect the way my mom's personality is. She has that Leo energy, um, but it's unexpressed because of that Pluto energy there. For her, it got isolated. For her, it's under wraps. Uh, it's not out for show, and so it really kind of makes sense. There's that uh, Leo seventh house. Um, so my mom's an Aries, and I am supposedly an Aries as well. So there's that happening. My dad might actually have a Libra rising, but I have Pluto in Libra. So then there's that Scorpion dynamic once again. So a chart will usually reflect a pattern a few different ways where it's not escapable. Uh, so the good one was Pluto in Libra and Uranus in Scorpio to show the dynamics of me and my father, because he either has a Scorpio rising or he has a Libra rising. Either way, I'm locked into a scorpionic relationship with my dad, where it was just an understanding and an invisible knowing, but it wasn't the full experience of Scorpio. It wasn't like, you know, it. I don't think we even have an emotional connection. Yet I respect my father. Uh, and he earned it, so he had to earn my respect. So, anyways, moving on, I'm going through my midlife crisis. Well, I would say I'm over it now. I went through it, and it was a long process of unexpected unpleasantries, of things not going my way. I literally was this whole other person. Then my biology started to switch, which then changed my moods and my needs. And now and so then it was like, how do I live my life now as this other being who can't get my old needs met in this older body, this new body it's going through a different process. It's not on the ascent, it's on the descent. And so when you realize your life is on the descent, your values change. What was important then going up is not the same as going down. And so you're looking at life after death, you're looking at aging, you're looking at what is really important? Gathering more material things, status. Who cares? You're walking off the stage of life, so your priorities change. And so obviously that would be, so my north node is also in Scorpio, uh, which is all about becoming a master of letting things go, really. And through the letting go process, you invite new things in, the rebirth. It's about deconstructing the old self and allowing this new self or new potential that was always there to emerge and have a chance. And so it's this life death cyclical process that all the other water signs have. It just usually gets intensified under the Scorpion lens. Um, and it might be a full life pattern, like one huge epic tale of transformation. And so at midlife, it acts very much like a Saturn returns because Aquarius co-rules Saturn. And so when it's made it halfway around, it opposes that. And I could literally feel like before I was kind of oblivious to the Aquarius nature in me, or the learned Aquarius nature in me. And when Uranus opposed Uranus, it's almost like this dial that would just dial in and click, 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 and bring to my consciousness my own inner Aquarius. So you are all the signs, you are the whole chart, you are all the planets. They've just been concentrated in a certain arrangement when you were born, and certain things are more in your awareness, certain things are more unconscious, certain things play out in different times of your life. And so now I'm seeing the Aquarian in me. I mean, I've always had these values and been going that direction. So in a really weird way, I feel like a rising sign can almost act like a sun sign, being something that you become. Like your midheaven and your sun is something that you're trying to achieve and become. So if your sun is Aries, through the course of your life, you are becoming Aries. You are becoming courageous. You're becoming a leader. You're becoming, a Spartan. You're becoming independent. It's a development process. And how many layers, how many lifetimes through that development process, I don't know. But I really see at my midlife the development of Aquarius in me. So I've attracted a lot of different types of people, but usually people who I was most interested in tend to have an Aquarius moon or something Aquarius about them. And I thought that was really interesting because I wasn't consciously seeking it. But then when I look at their charts, I've dated 4 people that are Taurus sun sign, Aquarius moon. The descent of my chart is Taurus. And there was something very Taurus and routine and I would call it negative with my parents. I'm like, oh my gosh, don't even want to talk about it. But so it's like on one level I understand it. And my south node is Taurus. So in the past I've been that. And for a lot of time I really questioned the Taurus in me. And because I have that kind of Capricorn energy, and then it's just kind of made sense. But why am I even talking? Right. And so I started doing a little research on Aquarius. They're the isolationist. I was like, oh my gosh. Because I thought that was just me and my Pisces. I thought that was me and supposedly my Cancer rising. Want to stay at home, like to be all cozy. And then I'm like, doesn't mean I want to share the bed with someone, or my food, or my space, or my energy. Like other water signs, they're way comfortable with, I would call it strings attached, connection. Like, let's emotionally bond. And I'm like, oh, that's the last thing I want to do. And it's like, but it's also yes and it's also no. Because when I look at my Aquarius planets, they're in water signs. I'm like, I'll do a deep emotional bond, but it can't be like normal. It has to be deep. Or I'll even physically bond with you, Cancer. I was a massage therapist for like 20 years. So, but it was in a professional setting. And I was the one doing the therapeutic touch, and there was knowledge and intention there. It wasn't, let's just hold hands. Like, gross. Warm hands, ooh, I don't like it. I'm like, like, or too warm. Doughy bodies, like water bags that are warm, is like kind of gross. I'm not attracted or turned on to warmth. Like, I would call it female warmth, where you feel cozy and cuddly, all wrapped up and bundled in sweetness. I'm like, throw up. I'm more, and it was something I kind of learned. I'm more comfortable with a little cold, a little distance, a little room to breathe. I'm like, oh. And so I really want a telepathic, mental, spiritual connection with my partner. But I also want that heart connection with my partner where I feel the love vibes, not needy vibes, not clingy vibes, the love, empathic. So it's kind of like cleaner emotions and cleaner thoughts and a cleaner way to share energy. And it has to have a meaning behind it other than let's just be together and be bonded. For security, safety, and to ease the pain of loneliness and face hard times. I'm like, that doesn't seem reasonable. And like, or though we could have moments like that, but those won't be highlights in my life. I'll walk away feeling bad about myself. I'm going to walk away from those things feeling bad about being so connected. So it's been over time that I've really came into my Aquarius nature. And so this is something we also need to realize with charts. Aries is the baby of the zodiac. So we will all go through that first stage of life as Aries, then move into the second as Taurus, move into third as Gemini. So the whole wheel describes a full lifetime. Some people are more mature, and so they're going to get placements in more mature signs. So it's like usually by the time you hit Libra and the rest, these are mature signs. Libra is on, I would call Libra the true young, I would call Libra the adult. Like, they can do relationships, they can negotiate, they can work shit out. And you have to have those skills to have a healthy, functional relationship, you know, to work on the relationship. You have to be able to communicate. You have to have logic and reason. You have to plan shit out. Like, and I feel like Libra really has those capabilities. The other signs before it, they might be more self-indulgent. Their needs, the reasons for being in relationship is not to be in relationship with you, but to probably get something out, acquire something through the relationship. It's at Libra where I feel like those things are sacrificed. And so, where You're now in relationship because you actually want to be relating to the other person for no other reason than to relate. So I think it's also a really great communication sign. So, um, and so it's very interesting. And so you're going to, so there's a thing called progress charts, and the sun moves 1 degree for every year. So after 30 years, you're not in Aries like you are, because you are your blueprint, but you'll also then be taking on characteristics of the next sign, Taurus. You would think after 30 years, or usually 15 or so, because people are so far into their sign, uh, you would kind of know who you were, and now you're going to want to actualize it more and create definition. And that's what Taurus does, the next sign over. It's like, this is me, and I do things that support me, and I don't do things that don't support me or my values, because it's all about values. And so you would think probably at midlife, you're going to get into some of those adult signs. So I love that. You know how people would say, "Oh, I wish I was as wise and as understanding of the world as I am now in a younger body." This is what happens when you get from Libra, I'd say from Scorpio on over. You get these mature signs. And so they're born with more understanding of the world and life automatically, but yet they're kids. So you're starting your journey in Sagittarius, you're starting your journey in Scorpio. You naturally have deep insights. You naturally get people in psychology. Capricorn, you naturally get the need for business and law and order and justice and a system. Aquarius, you naturally have been done all that. You have something to share and teach, and you're now going, okay, what's really important to me? It's, because we all die. So I have these ambitions, these personal things. Like, I want to play piano. It could be very eccentric, and no, it doesn't make my life longer, and no, it doesn't do this and that, but it's something I want to do. So we get this kind of new empowerment. Like old people, they don't give a fuck anymore what you think. They've learned that. They go, everyone around me doesn't give a fuck, so why should I give a fuck? So the best thing to do is give a fuck about myself. That's Aquarius. And so if you're not an Aquarius, you're going to go through your Aquarius stage uh, later in life. And at the end of it all, you're on your deathbed, your body's falling apart, and you have these beautiful nostalgic memories, and you have hopes, and you have dreams, and you have visions, and the spirit world is opening up to you. You're having your Pisces experience. So, the grand finale is Pisces. How you played the game. It's a karma sign for sure. And you look back maybe with some regrets, but also at that time, everything's just going. You're like, whatever. So you have to surrender to the process of life and death and divinity at that stage. You know, you don't describe yourself the same way. You're an abstraction. So so it makes sense that I would start to understand my rising sign, this part of myself, during the midlife, which is Uranus opposite Uranus. And so it took me like 40 years to develop these values that are Aquarian in me, which is detach, quiet the mind. And also, my whole life, I had some, I would call them pre installed values. Looking at my life and the family I grew up in, they're educated, and education was a thing. People were doing homeschool and homework every night. And I watched my brothers and sisters, who are pretty much all air signs, move through it really easily. And I couldn't. I had all these learning disabilities, and I wanted to be outside, or I'd escape into dreams and fantasy, and I was like, gosh, I'm not really an air sign. I don't remember all this. I can't do all this. I want to use my mind because I feel like what the world is asking me to be is smart. The world is asking me to solve its problems. The world is asking me to be an expert navigator, whether it's of psychology or flying a plane. The world wants me to be a leader in a mental way. And I'm like, in a weird way, that's not me. What I really like is psychic stuff, the stuff where my Aquarian planets are in Cancer for psychic healing, and in Scorpio for a whole nother level of multidimensional awesome. And I'm like, that's what I want. So I had to apply my brain power in a different way. I'm like, I want to use my mind, but not the way everyone wants me to, but maybe the way I can, or the only door open and available to me. Wouldn't it be great if we could solve problems, if we could get knowledge a different way? Wouldn't it be awesome to? So I kind of wanted to take the value system of how we use our mind and flip it on its head. I go, we equate smart with calculations and numbers and objective things. Could I use the same level of genius in metaphysical ways? And I've been doing that my whole life, to explore the metaphysical universe. And now at midlife, I see this like kind of like award for developing myself, an award for staying true to everything I ever wanted to do. My family and my community was against. They all thought it was evil. They all thought it was archaic and something of the past and useless. And the reality, after 46 years, I shouldn't really say 46, can't count some of those early years. Um, at least 40 years of trying to hack into my mind and into my body and into the psychic world with energy and stuff. I see that the reality is, oh yeah, where we're going in the future is opening up our mind and using it in different ways. Like, you thought technology was cool. Human beings are advanced technology. We just don't give ourselves permission to use it in advanced ways. So I like to say everything in this outer world is a is a is a symbolic representation of inner processes. So the human mind is a rocket ship. The human mind is a telescope. The human mind is a microwave oven. The human mind is a sun, is a star, is a moon. The human mind is the space that holds a universe. And so, as I come into this thing about my Aquariusness, I'm like, what have I been developing? What have I been trying to understand? And it's kind of zen. It's kind of like an open, empty, clear mind can channel in information, energy, living in an undefined type of intelligence. Like, we define everything in numbers and letters, and we construct it in definitions and forms and reasons and laws and formulas. But it's also this morphic energy. It's also possibility, as energy, as consciousness, as awareness. And maybe we could maximize our ability to be aware, our ability to be conscious, our ability to be receptive And maybe that could be of greater value. We're filling our head with content. Instead, let's fill it with awareness. Let's fill it with consciousness. Let's fill it with energy. And so that's what I've been doing on my secret project in my life. And I've always kind of viewed myself as a scientist who hasn't got funding for his work because, you know, who was funding psychics in the 70s, you know, and this whole other type of psychic, which is the stuff that I do. It really doesn't have anything to do with charts. It doesn't have anything to do with cards. It doesn't have anything to do with fortune telling. It doesn't have anything to do with like manifestation. In my mind, it's way beyond that. Way. And then yet it comes back to self-realization. And then like your mind is a gift and a curse. And it's about if you can learn to just be peaceful and mindful and present, the gates of possibility open. That metaphysical universe, that quantum level happens when you learn how to be in the present moment and just be open. It's kind of like attached to nothing, open to everything. Or, attached to nothing but connected to everything. The state of knowing. So while I was doing my research, an Aquarius talked about she's crown chakra down. And that really resonates with me, especially right now in my life. This video is gonna cut out soon, so this is my video on my talking about whatever. Have a good day.